the D Money show, yes, it's intended for people in performance marketing. And I want to keep having performance marketing guests. But we also cross over every once in a while just because I want to be interesting and we want to entertain our industry.
Right.
So we bring on David Faustino. We're going to bring Don Magic Juan. We'll have
just
two
a glimpse.
short.
It's just a glimpse into our lives. Some of the characters that we hang out with.
Okay, we're on the D Money show, and as I promised, we have two special guests. Not only do I have my brother KBizzle with me, but we also have an icon, David Faustino. Bud Bundy, Grandmaster B is in the studio.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You know what I love about you? You always use the word icon with me. And, you know, I like that word.
Well, he mentioned Don Magic One, too. He called him an icon about 10 minutes ago.
Well, he's an icon.
He is an icon.
He is an icon.
I did not use that with Don
Hey,
Magic
listen,
Juan,
we
but
got David Faustino in the building.
But there's very few icons, right? Like, think about how many icons are in the world. If Bud Bundy from Married with Children is not iconic.
There's a lot.
I mean,
There's a lot of icons.
All right, well, you're one of them. You're
Thank
one of
you.
them.
We grew up.
Thank you, Darren.
We grew
you're
up
welcome.
watching David Faustino. That is something that I can honestly say, to this day, one of my favorite TV shows of all time.
Yes.
And I remember meeting you for the first time. You don't remember this, but I met you with Paulie Shore at the Comedy Store.
Okay.
And I remember just sitting there going, wow, this is like my life, like my youth in Cleveland.
What circle would that be that I met you, ish? Like what
12 years ago, you were hanging out on the patio, and Paulie introduced me to you. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know who David Faustino is. And then I said to you,
Yeah.
you don't remember this, but we contacted you in 1998. I worked for a company called Why Not? And the guy that I worked for at the time, Rick Moonyoung, shout out to Rick, young guy, he's 18 years old, tiny guy, little guy. And his idol, he was about a little smaller than you.
Oh, wow.
But his idol and the person that he identified with the most was Bud Bundy.
Wow.
and he also loved Matt and Trey from South Park. And we ended up getting him to be a sponsor in Tribeca. Or not Tribeca, the Sundance Film Festival.
We called it Lap Dance. We did a spoof
Right.
of the whole scene with Matt and Trey.
And
we called it Lap Dance.
It was one of the craziest weeks we've ever had. But
with Les Claypool as our guest, and he stayed with us at the pad.
yeah, our travel agent fucked up, and 17 people stayed in the same condo. We were with Matt and Trey and a bunch of porn stars. The guys from Trauma Pictures, you remember the Toxic Avenger?
Yeah.
They all stayed in this. It was the weirdest week of our lives, but we had the most fun. Anyway, getting back to how I met you, I had initially contacted you in 1998 because I said to Rick, hey, we're going to come out and we're going to do this big marketing thing about our company. Would you like any celebrities in our booth? Who would you like if I could call anybody? You know, I've got connects. And he goes, there's only one person I want.
Oh my God, that's
Can
hilarious.
you contact David Faustino? I want Bud Bundy to be in our booth. And I said, you got it, Rick. And I contacted your agent, and I said, listen, we would like to have a lunch meeting with David Faustino. Can we make this happen? He goes, listen, I can tell you right now, David's not going to want to do anything adult-related. I said, well, you know.
What related?
Adult-related, because this was an adult company. It really wasn't an adult company. It was a resource
Got it.
for adult webmasters.
But it was in the adult industry.
Yeah.
It was in the adult space.
Yeah, the only contact I want to have with the adult world is on my laptop by myself.
Well, right. But here's the funny thing.
Behind the firewall.
So we end up having a meeting with Dave. It's me, Rick, and David, and we go to Cafe Med because David doesn't like to leave his neighborhood. By the way.
That's true.
I didn't realize that you lived literally so
That's
close.
the only reason why we got him here.
Yeah. He's at West Hollywood. I'm there.
Yeah.
And we bought you lunch, and we were sitting there, and we're like, listen, we really want you, and we could pay you this. And you said, listen, guys, it's not about the money with me. I just have a lot of young fans that look up to me, and I just would feel like I'm letting them down doing something adult related. So I'm going to have to pass on this because I don't want this to affect my
And
career.
by the way, this is a great segue. Speaking of those same fans, we have something coming out soon that is going to be the greatest tribute for Bud Bundy fans, Married with Children fans in general. They get to talk to you every week.
Yeah.
We're going to watch an episode, and then they get to go over it with Bud.
I think it's an exciting thing, man.
It's
I think it's
amazing.
going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun to do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be a blast for me as well.
Yeah, and one of the things I didn't know that I heard recently that you posted with Christina was that you guys went to school together, like private homeschooled or whatever it was, while you were filming a show. So you guys were constantly together.
Oh, yeah. We were in a room much like the size of this, with one teacher and the two of us, and we drove each other fucking crazy.
Wow.
And somewhere there was a first AD that was running around the set trying to get you guys to the tutor, right? Because you had to go.
Oh yeah, I hated it too. Like some kids love to learn. Like I used the example in the podcast. I don't know if you heard, but like so Alyssa Milano and Danny Pintaro of Who's the Boss fame were already well into their show, maybe third, fourth season already. And I had this debilitating crush on Alyssa Milano.
Who did it?
We all did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad. Right. And here I am now. Here's our schoolroom. 2 doors down is their schoolroom, and they have to pass us every time they walk out. And I'm like, you know, I'm 13 years old, 12, 13 years old. I was like, blah, 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 blah. I was like a bumbling fucking mess. I could not talk to this girl no matter how hard I tried. But
Was this on the Fox lot?
This was actually on Sunset Gower.
Well, how old was she at the time?
She was, well, let's see, she was probably like 3 years older than me, 2 years older than me, and hot as could be. And you know, she was the it girl at that time, and I was already a fan of the show by the time I booked Married with Children. So here she was, this big star, hot. I had the craziest crush, and now I'm in the same vicinity as her with no game. And just
you should have put the hat on and turned it into
turn it backwards and put a character on, right? That would have worked.
Won it for sure.
She would have been all mine.
Yeah.
You know, you could have tried to fuck Tony Danza, I guess.
You know,
I mean, that would have been
that would have been easier.
Yeah, probably would have been easier.
So when we release this new community site, we're going to tell stories like that, and people are going to have a chance to ask you questions about. Do you remember all those episodes? Like when you watched them, was there ever an episode where you're like, I have no memory of that?
There's a couple I don't have memories of, but most of them I'll do. I'll be like, oh shit, I remember what we were doing at that point. And some of them are like my faves, like the Sam Kinison. We'll save this for the fans, but like the Sam Kinison weeks, he was there for a 2-week. 2-week stint. Dude, it was the greatest 2 fucking weeks of my life, bro.
Really?
Like he took a liking to me. We became really pretty close friends. I mean, I would go on tour with him.
Really?
Oh, dude, yeah, we became really close. I'd hang out at his house.
Wow.
And you know, there'd be mountains. There'd be like dollar bills, and there'd be mountains of cocaine under it, like in various like spots in the room. I never partook in any drugs with that guy. I would drink.
Yeah.
But you know, Sam.
But you were also 12 probably.
Well, that was probably 14, 15.
Okay.
But he was just, he would offer. I mean, I don't want to say he did it. He wasn't doing it out of like a nefarious kind of weird. He was just Sam. He's just like, he wanted you to partake in the fun, and then you know, it was just anything went with that guy.
Yeah,
I think that's how Mark Maron had a nervous breakdown. By the way, he went into a cocaine psychosis with Sam Kinison.
He did,
and he had to leave L.A. Yeah, that's the story.
Well, that'll happen. I mean, you do enough coke, you'll go into a psychosis.
He told the story a couple times. He had to leave L.A. because he went into a cocaine psychosis.
Yeah.
And then, it's funny, my mother...
You wouldn't be the first.
my mother's not a big fan of Pauly Shore, because the first time we introduced my mom to Pauly, he was a little obnoxious.
Yeah, Pauly?
My mom says, what's wrong with this guy? He's got a screw loose. Is he on the drugs? I'm like, he's not on drugs, Mom.
She sounds like Mitzi.
Well, she's like Howard Stern's mother and Mitzi.
Okay.
She's like Ray Romano's mother in the show.
Yeah, exactly. So Jewish mother, and of course, the first time I introduced her to Pauly comes, and he's got an issue going on with his prostate, right?
Okay.
So they put him on Flomax, and he comes in, and my mom is what you call in Yiddish verputzt. She's all made up. She's got her hair. You don't touch my mother. She's very, very dolled up all the time. So he comes in, hi, Mrs. Blatt, and rubs my mom's hair.
Oh, God.
And my mom gives me a look. I know this look. My brother and I know
that was the
look.
kiss of death.
There was a whole can of hairspray in there.
Guys, I got to go pee-pee. Be right back. And he runs to the bathroom. My mom goes, I don't know who this Pauly Shore is, but I don't like him. And I go, Mom, he's fine. His mom's Mitzi. They opened up the Comedy Store. She's responsible for all these famous comics. Okay. He comes back. He's starts belching. We're sitting there. My mom's giving me looks like, who is this? Sorry, gotta go pee-pee. And then he runs back to the bathroom. My mom looks at me like,
what's going on?
What's with the pee-pee? I go, Mom, he's got a bad prostate. He told me he's got an issue. He's on Flomax. Okay. He comes back. We start talking. 5 minutes later, sorry, gotta go pee-pee. He runs back. My mom goes, your friend Paulie's on the coke. And I go, Mom, he's not on the coke. He's just a little off, People that went to Beverly Hills High School, they're not normal people.
All right, yeah.
Right.
She goes, well, I don't think he's funny, and riddle me this, Batman. I go, what? She goes, he's a comic, right? I said, yeah. Well, what does he do when he's on stage for an hour? Does he have to jump off and go pee-pee every 5 seconds? I'm like, Mom, that's a very valid point you make. But anyway, she didn't like Pauly.
Yeah.
And then I explained to her, I go, Mom, Sam Kinison used to babysit Pauly.
Yeah, isn't that
That's
wild?
all you have to know. And she goes, who's Sam Kinison?
Sam was the greatest, man. Sam was, and I know Pauly my whole life. I mean, we actually went to acting class together, believe it or not. Yeah.
I didn't know Pauly knew how to act.
Yeah, well, well.
Shout out Pauly. Hey, Pauly, I'm sorry.
Hey, Encino Man was a great movie.
Listen, son-in-law, all his stuff's good stuff.
Is he still going to play
Richard
Simmons? Is that happening?
That's what he says.
Didn't he already do the short film of that? There was a short, right?
It's perfect casting.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, it was really poignant. You'd like it.
You know, he was my neighbor for years and years. He lived right there on Belfast.
That's right.
So so I would see him constantly walking the dogs, jogging. He would do his house up for Christmas every year.
Wow.
And then, it just kind of started fading away. It's like, what's going on with him? He didn't come out anymore.
Well, everybody said at one point that he was cross-dressing and that you wouldn't have recognized him in his later years because he went out dressed as a woman.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
that
that
I
to
didn't
be
know.
fact. Listen, when I was working with TMZ, they had me camp out on Belfast. I was just going through a couple of maybe there was a podcast, whatever happened to Richard Simmons, and everybody wanted to know what happened to Richard Simmons. Nobody ever saw him. Like literally, he became such a recluse that nobody saw him.
It was wild. It was too bad because he was such a bright spirit, man. He would come out and serenade. He was a lot of fun, and I'd see him all the time. Like, it was great. But then, like I said, he just kind of disappeared.
Now, my brother, I remember one of my brother's favorite episodes of Married with Children was the toaster leave-ins.
I use that expression for that.
Well, toaster leave-ins is great.
That was a classic.
Which was the
tang wipe. Do you remember the tang wipe? It was like you get a piece of we'd get an old piece of bread.
No.
You go, tang wipe, and you there was hardly any tang left, just like the dust, and you would like wipe it.
Tang
wipe.
The orange drink?
Yeah, the tang.
That's funny.
Tang wipe.
I don't remember that, but
I don't remember that, but toaster leave-ins really.
Yeah, toaster
Tell me
leave-in.
about the dog.
The dog, Buck, the greatest.
Were you
He started out as Mike. His name was Mike.
right? Because he had two different names.
Yeah, well, no, I mean his real name was Mike, and then
The dog's name was Mike.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a French Briard. I can't remember what you call him, but big dog.
Yeah.
And he was great, but I remember one year we had a wrap party right for the season, and the dog, the trainer Steve, put him in the truck, and the windows were down. It was nighttime, and I'm leaving the wrap party, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna go say goodbye to the dog, And so I'm like 14, 13, and I walk up to the fucking thing.
Yeah.
You never do this, right?
No.
And he almost took my fucking hand off, man.
Really?
I was just rah, rah, rah. I was like, holy fuck,
Jesus.
So yeah, it was just a lesson in like, you don't walk up to a car that a dog is in and try to put your hand in, no matter what dog it is.
Wow.
But he was the greatest, and then he obviously passed, and then they brought that horrible, and everybody hated the second dog.
Right, I was gonna say
the what was it like one of those little floppy I can't remember what you call them right now.
It was a different kind of dog.
Totally. It was like a little, like, cute, flappy, I can't remember what you call him. But so no one liked that dog. His name was Lucky. And it just, they hated him almost as much as, do you remember the character Seven, the kid that they decided to bring in, which just was a complete failure?
Yeah.
The kid wasn't an actor. No disrespect to him. He just wasn't an actor.
Yeah.
He just couldn't, he'd be like standing this way while the camera's over there. Like, he just couldn't get.
he didn't get direction.
Yes, he didn't, he just wasn't an actor. He was cute as could be. But it was just a bad idea. And then they kind of closed that by, I don't know if you remember, there was a milk carton on the table. And they zoom in, and it says, it's got his picture, have you seen me?
No way. That's how they killed him.
That's how they killed him off. Yeah.
Wait, did the dog die during an episode, too? Did they have, like, our dog is dead, and now we got a new dog?
I believe we did. I can't remember how that all went down. But, like, they would have
It was kind of like Aunt Bev on Fresh Prince. Like one year it was one aunt, and then it was another aunt, different person the next year.
You're just supposed to assume that.
Or like Bewitched, there was two different Darrens. Remember, there was one.
Was there?
Darren, yeah, there was Dick Sargent, and there was another one.
Yeah.
Well, how many years did you guys do Married with
We did 11 seasons.
Wow.
It's a long run.
So you literally grew up on it.
Yeah. I think it was like 265 episodes.
So when it finished, you were how old?
I was 24. I started when I was 12. I was 24 when I walked off that.
How old were you playing at 24? What
About
was
the same age.
Same age?
Same age, yeah. Still living at home, of course.
Right,
And by the way, Mr. Faustino over here rocked a mullet way before Theo Vaughn
fuck yeah.
ever
way
rocked
better,
a
way
mullet.
better.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny. Now that we have AI and we're doing all these fun things, our new thing that we have coming out, we're going to have the community guess what you would be doing at your age now in real life as Bud Bundy.
As Bud Bundy, yeah.
And I asked the AI, and it came up with really funny things. I'm not gonna. I'd have to bust out my phone, be sloppy.
Yeah.
But it was really funny to hear what AI
really? That's
said
a great idea.
I'll send it to you.
I didn't even. I've never thought about it.
What Bud Bundy
funny.
would be doing now?
Yeah, it was hilarious. like just asking AI what Bud Bundy would be doing.
Oh, he's divorced twice with,
Well, they tried to get several spin-offs going.
For Bud Bundy?
The animation.
Yeah. No, first they tried to do live action. So it was going to be a big, like I was all set. Like I had my contract signed.
Yeah.
It was a done deal.
Oh, wow.
And even the whole cast coming to sort of support me was going to be recurring in it, right? So we're going to do 3, 4, 5 episodes a year, just little. And Ron Levitt's son. So the two creators are Ron Levitt and Michael Moy. Two of the funniest guys you'll ever meet in your fucking life. Ron passed away years ago. He was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. But one of the funniest guys ever that I've ever met to this day.
Really?
Just hilarious. And he modeled Al Bundy after his life. He's a Jewish guy, but so he did kind of like the white waspy version of like what.
Right.
And
selling shoes.
And his son poo-pooed the whole thing.
Well,
he's got such a big piece of it.
Yeah, and the son's poo-pooing everything about a reunion, if I remember correctly. Like you guys would never do the reunion that everybody wants to see because the son doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. The fact that this kid has so much control, and it's not even, and he would make a ton of money, and it's like this kind of, he feels like Fox or Sony like fucked his dad over. I don't even know all the politics of it, but he's an angry guy, and and he was able to successfully, make it not happen.
Wow. I mean, while everybody's still alive. Right? I mean, is there anybody that's passed away that was on that show?
No. So what was the
Ed's
rumor?
still strong as an ox, bro. He's 78. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu.
I had no idea.
And I saw his daughter, and what the daughter looked like, I was in shock.
Gorgeous, right?
Gorgeous.
Wow.
And, so this is what I wanted to ask you about. I just spit.
It happens.
I was watching a show on Apple TV last week, and Ted McGinley is on the show called Shrinking.
Shrinking, yeah, which I haven't seen, but I hear it's great.
Now, there's this myth, and I don't know if it's a myth or not, but they say that every single show that Ted McGinley would get on would get canceled soon after. Did you ever hear this?
I don't think that's true, though.
Well, he was on Happy Days, and there was a bunch of other things, but every show that he would make an appearance on or he became part of the cast, there was called a Ted McGinley curse.
That's funny.
Where it literally would either end that season or it literally had very limited shelf life.
Sounds like the Fat Joe.
It may have happened on Happy Days. I don't know, but Married with Children, it still went because the guy who played the original neighbor, Steve, right? His name was Steve,
with the dark hair.
With the dark hair, he left on his own accord. So the workings, and this is I'm not letting out any secrets. Ed talks about it. Before Ed signed with Bernie Brillstein of Brillstein Gray, he went into a room and he sat down with Bernie. He talks about this on Christina's podcast actually just recently, and Bernie said Ed said, well, why would I want to sign with you? Everything's good here. I got what would you do for me? He goes, well, would it surprise you to know that the neighbor is making more money than you right now? And he said, yes, it would. It would surprise me greatly.
No way.
Yeah. So
wow.
Steve, David Garrison was making more money than him the first 3 seasons, and
why would he ever leave that franchise?
Stupidity, bro. He admits years later it was the dumbest movie.
I mean, what did he ever go on to do after that? I don't think I've ever seen him in anything outside of Married with Children.
He's a Broadway actor. He went back and, as Ed said, is back on kicking his heels on Broadway. But I mean, he was a good dude. He was great to me. He hated L.A. He fucking hated L.A. He flew out from New York, and he had this horrible phobia of earthquakes all the time.
Wow.
And it's all he would think about. Meanwhile, he would have been fine. We haven't had, and he just, also all he thought about. And
knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah, right.
And he left and went back to New York, and he didn't know the show would go another 8 seasons after he left,
So you haven't seen him since he left the
He
show?
came back for a couple, guest episodes, and he was, awkward. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He felt kind of weird. But I've seen him. I went to go see him on Broadway on something. I can't remember what it was. But, we've remained, we've talked to each other throughout the years. But he left on his own accord.
What about Marcy Darcy?
Marcy, Amanda Bierce.
Do you still talk to her?
I don't. She doesn't live in I talked to Ed, Christina, and Katie.
Okay.
I'll talk to Ted here and there. We text. But I'm really close with the main family. but I don't talk to, I see Amanda. I've seen her at like one of those cons, where you sign autographs and shit.
Yeah.
I saw her at one of those.
The ex-con?
The ex-con, yeah.
You ever notice they don't have any ex-cons?
Yeah, they should.
The ex-cons are reserved for
you want your money back
the porn
now?
business would be the ex-con. Yeah.
All right, so hold on a second. Let's get on track. So one of the coolest things about you that I appreciate is your life after Married with Children and how the whole Ballistics thing happened and how you became this figure in the LA music scene.
Why don't you tell the audience what Ballistics was? I know I went to, I think maybe one. It was late 90s.
Early 90s.
So this is right after the show ended?
No, it's during.
During
right
the
in the heyday.
Oh, you
of
did
it.
it during. Okay.
Right in the heyday of it.
So you're Bud Bundy.
Bud Bundy.
You're rocking LA.
I'm a
at the
giant
Whiskey.
hip hop fan, right? So the way I got introduced to hip hop, funny enough, was through Christina Applegate. She's not a giant hip hop fan, but she was a big Beastie Boys fan at the time, and they had
Mixmaster Mike, our boy.
Mixmaster Mike.
Yeah.
They had just dropped License to Ill. I was listening to, I don't know what the fuck I was listening to, but she put that on my headphones, and I was like, that was it. I became a giant hip hop fan from then on. I started like discovering everything, and I had a giant love of the music. Well, I became friends with Nick Adler, who's Lou Adler's son.
Sure.
Who, Lou Adler, he's the rock and roll god, and that guy's a fucking G, bro. He still goes to. He was at Coachella this last year, 91 years old.
Wow.
He walks around like he's healthy. He moves.
I heard you're no longer allowed to have birthday parties at his house, though.
Yeah,
Is that true?
That's a whole other fucking story. I'll tell you that in a minute. So I became friends with Nick, and because Lou owns the whiskey, we had this idea. Let's throw a fucking party, at the whiskey. Well, that morphed into a weekly club. We spent, we brought in our own speakers. We like when you walked into the whiskey for Ballistics on a Thursday night, you couldn't recognize it. It wasn't the whiskey. We transformed that place, much to Lou's like, why are you guys spending all this money? It's because we're not trying to make money. We're just trying to have a good time. Lou's a business guy. He was like, and his partners weren't into it because it was mostly underage kids. But the whiskey has a restaurant license, so you can have kids in there while they're still.
That's why you didn't do it at the Roxy.
Well, the Roxy has a restaurant license too. Believe
They
it
do?
or not. Yeah, dude, they have a
So
I can take my daughter to go see any show I want.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now I don't know if On the Rocks does upstairs.
Yeah.
But the Roxy absolutely does.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So any kid can be in there at any time. Anyway, so we decided to take over the whiskey, and it became this huge fucking thing, man. I didn't know my own sort of like.
It was always
reach.
hip hop, right?
Always hip hop at our club.
At a rock venue.
We were the first hip hop club on the Sunset Strip. At that time, you had to go to like the inner city, South Central, wherever it was, to like listen to hip hop music. We brought it to the Sunset Strip.
Live performers too?
Dude,
wow.
we were so our club was NWA's last performance together.
No
Ren,
kidding.
Dre,
Really?
Easy, not Ice Cube. Ice Cube had already left.
Wow.
And they performed, bro, at our club, and it wasn't even like we paid them. They just got up and did a fucking show, man. It was
That's
like,
cool.
and Easy was there. He was a regular, like every week. Easy was there. That's how Will.i.am got signed. So Will.i.am would come in. He was Will.1X at the time, and he would win we had a freestyle battle every week that I would host. Dude, Will came in. A lot of people don't know this about Will. He is a fucking battle rapper.
Yep.
He's a vicious battle rapper that will take you apart head to toe, and he would do that every week. No one could beat him for months and months on end. People would try to come. Famous rappers, Kass, all these guys, and he would just take them.
Shout out to Ras
You just
Kass.
mentioned him,
I
yeah.
love Ras. He's a great dude. He's a funny dude.
He's the best.
He's the funniest. Yeah. And we're still friends to this day. But so Easy saw this and signed Will and his little crew, the At Band clan at the time, to which morphed into Black Eyed Peas, obviously, to Ruthless Records. Wow. So they signed Ruthless. Then Easy got sick. It all got shelved. Everything went to shit. And then they formed the Black Eyed Peas and went to Interscope. And that's how that whole thing.
That's crazy.
So Will's a giant part of the documentary that we were talking about, which is a documentary we're making now about.
You got Be Real in this too.
Oh yeah, Be Real's in it. Everybody's in. Dude, Robin Thicke. I mean, all these kids. The only person who hasn't gotten interviewed yet that was a staple of is Leo DiCaprio.
He used to go.
Oh yeah, he was a regular.
Okay.
Everybody was a regular there, bro.
You can't get in touch with him? Or?
I haven't been able to lock that down. I'll
make a call for you.
Please do. Yeah. Please do. I mean, obviously he knows you would put it over the top, right?
Yeah.
And I would think he would want to, because everybody who was like gone on to The Alchemist Alchemist was our flyer guy. Wow. Him and Scotty Kahn, because they're about 3 years younger than us.
Scott Kahn.
So they were these two. They were besties. They're still very.
How long of a run was it?
It was about 3 years.
3 years you did.
And it was spelled Ballistyx.
So no, it was It was like Ballistyx. Ballistyx.
STYX. I remember it being spelled weirdly.
Well, in hip hop, you can't spell anything right. Come on, bro.
Yeah, S's are Z's. Come on, everything's like different.
You know how it goes. You know how it goes.
Well, that's fascinating. That's really cool that you were like a big part of the scene back in the day.
Oh man, it was such a great time, and to bring the hood and Beverly Hills together, and for it to all work seamlessly.
Right.
It seemed like an impossibility, but it really was a magical place.
Was Pauly Shore there, or did he have
Pauly
to go
came through a couple times. He doesn't remember. As a matter of fact, MTV did a piece on it, and he doesn't remember it.
He doesn't? Well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so...
he probably had to go pee-pee.
Yeah.
Had to go pee-pee.
So you had A-list actors. You had street G's that were just showing up.
Well, Leo was just on Growing Pains at the time. He wasn't
he was nobody yet.
He was nobody. Toby was also just an up-and-comer.
Wow.
Rob and Thicke, who we were close with. I grew up in Alan's house. I was at Alan's house all the time.
In Toluca Lake?
In Toluca Lake. No yeah, exactly. I love that house, man.
They used to live right up the street from where I used to live.
Alan's a very musical guy. People don't realize, he wrote the jingle to fucking Facts of Life.
Well, his son's pretty good.
His son's great. I just saw him perform the other night at the Race to Erase MS, which I've been going to for 32 years in a row.
And Christina has MS.
Christina has MS.
How's she doing now?
She's doing okay. I just did her podcast a couple days ago. She's it's rough. It's MS, bro.
She was my first crush, bro. I got to tell you, there was Marie Osmond when I was a wee little kid, and then there was Christina Applegate. And I was like, man, if someday I could just meet Christina Applegate.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember...
Yeah, she was another crush of ours early on, too.
Oh, yeah. Everybody had a crush on
her.
I mean, because you're talking about
I didn't at all. Like not even a little bit,
sister. You guys
like not even a smidgen of a crush. Nothing against Christina, but she was like my sister.
Like your sister.
We annoyed the fuck out of each other. I saw her good and bad days, ugly good, whatever, and I just had zero, like nothing. People would be like, "Yo, do you?" I was like, "No, bro, nothing." Like zero.
What's funny to me is when you look at those old episodes. And you're watching Married with Children, and you see the girls wearing bikinis that would come on.
Oh, no, those girls were a different story.
Yeah, you must have lost your
That
mind.
was a whole other, because that was part of Married with Children. Yeah. These women would come into the shoe store. I mean, you had, you would know, what's her, Terry, not Terry, oh, man, she was she became a porn, she was a Playmate, then she became.
Terry Weigel?
Terry Weigel.
Do I know Terry Weigel?
She was the one. This is when she's like, I don't know, 21, 22, and she was just fucking, and she would like flash everybody. There's actually an episode where she has no panties on, and she does, and so they would have her do these pickups because she wouldn't wear any panties. Like, it was crazy, bro. Wow. Those girls drove me insane.
So this is a funny Terry Weigel story.
Yeah.
You're going to appreciate this. Years ago, I had a guy named Al. We won't go into his last name, but he owned the biggest TGP. Remember?
Yeah.
He came out, and I introduced him to a guy in Palmdale. I had never been to Palmdale in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that Palmdale was in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
We go out there, and they roll out this red carpet for me and this webmaster, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, anything you want, it's our wish. Your wish is our command. You're staying in the best place in Palmdale. This hotel, by the way, was like a rung above a Motel 6.
Okay.
It was the best.
Right, the best in Palmdale.
Anyway, they said, we arranged for some entertainment for you later on. I'm like, well, great. It'll be arriving around 9 p.m. I don't know what this means. We go to an Outback or whatever the best restaurant was in Palmdale.
Yeah.
I go back to the hotel, and my friend Al's sitting there, and we get a knock on the door. And we open up the door, and it's Terry Weigel. And she's wearing a overcoat with nothing on underneath it. Like the old stereotypical, like, stripper.
Yeah.
And her husband had dropped her off. Mm-hmm. She was a hooker. And literally dropped her off for my boy Al.
That's crazy. What year was this, do you think, about?
This was about 2000.
Okay, so later on, yeah.
We were trying to get Bud Bundy
to be
our adult guy, so it was probably right around like 99.
She got into like some drugs and shit, right?
She got into a lot of things. She got mostly into a lot of guys' pants.
I think more things got into her, though.
Oh, hey, this is PG-13. Speaking of things getting into things, so I met, again, later on, after Faustino and I had been away from each other, we both had a radio show over at Dash Radio.
That's right.
And it was over at the hotel, the Dream Hotel.
That's right.
And I was doing it with Too Short.
That's right.
Blow the Whistle
right.
podcast.
Totally forgot
It was
that.
called Blow the
Rest in
Whistle.
peace.
And I had Dave come on, and I believe
Did you say rest in peace?
Yeah, because they don't do the show.
Yeah, we don't do.
Oh,
yeah,
I was like, wait,
Show's
something
that.
about
Dash
Too Short? I
Radio.
don't know.
no.
Dash
He's
Radio is gone too.
Yeah.
So we had you come in, and you came in with the Digital Underground guys, who are like family.
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there.
Young
interviewing
Hump and those guys?
Young
Mhm.
Hump
Yeah.
and everybody come in with you, and we're talking about old stories. And then I say to you, so I understand your dad worked at Western Costumes, and he was a big costume guy there. And you're like, yeah, he was. So I understand he was a big dancer. And you're like, yeah, he did salsa dancing. I'm like, yeah, I heard that. I heard he was quite a ladies' man. And you're like, where are you hearing all
Yeah,
that?
how'd
And
you
I
know?
said, I bet you had the best costumes growing up for Halloween. And
I
you're
did.
like, bro,
I won every costume.
You're
fucking
like,
That's
contest.
great.
get out of my head. And then you told me the story about how your dad passed.
Yeah.
You want to tell my brother? Because I never told my brother.
Yeah, so my dad was a ladies' man his whole life. I mean, that's kind of what broke up.
If you don't mind sharing the story.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I found it fascinating.
Kind of broke up their marriage, and then, because he continued to date a lot of women, and then toward the end, he fell in love with this, probably 20 years younger than him, but beautiful woman, great. I loved her, and Jen is her name, and he was having sex with her, and just heart attack, done,
Wow.
out, gone,
Oof.
right in the middle of it.
Well, you've always said that that's the way you want to go out.
I want to go out coming and going at the same time.
That's what happened to him, man.
He went coming and going.
Oh,
I mean,
my
I feel
God.
bad for her. That's
Yeah.
got to be a horrific,
Horrible.
But what's so interesting is how small of a town this really is. Right?
How did you know all of that?
So I knew that because my next door neighbor, Paul DeLuca, was a big costumer
Got it.
for Universal, and he worked on every single 80s TV show. You want to talk about funny stories? Like when you talk to some guys that work in IATSE and these unions that work on these things, they have the best stories. So he'll always start off a story with, back when I was working on Hardcastle and McCormick,
Right.
the prop guys would have the best cocaine. I'm like,
Right.
what?
Right.
Like, so he would tell stories about, I was doing BJ and the Bear and Greg Avigan. I'm like sitting there going, these are all the shows I grew up watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I told him I had you on, I had you as a guest coming on this week. He goes, oh, yeah, I knew David's father really well. He was the biggest guy in a Western costume, and he was this. And yeah, later on in life, he became a salsa dancer, and that's just how he picked up chicks. I'm like, wow.
Yep.
So when I told David all this stuff, he looked at me like, how the fuck do you
Dude,
know?
I grew up in that building, the Western Costume Building on
Right.
Melrose. It was the greatest. I mean, they took a wrecking ball to it when Paramount took over. My dad filmed it happening because, that was where he...
Yeah.
And then they moved it to the Valley. It just
Van Owen.
never
I'm just trying to
happened.
imagine
Yeah,
you
exactly.
salsa dancing. Can you salsa
Me?
dance?
No, fuck no. He always wanted me to. My wife still wants me to. My wife can dance. She's a dancer. She grew up as a dancer. She's been trying to get me to salsa dance. I don't know. I just
Yeah, my girl keeps trying to get me to do it. My hips don't go. We got Jew hips. They don't move
Jew
like
hips.
that. You know what I mean?
So here's the
There's
funny
that
thing.
Jew bone where it doesn't let you,
Sadi, I go to breakfast one morning in Burbank, and I'm hanging out, and I meet this guy. He's this interesting character, and he's got this big Rolex. And we start talking. I'm like, are you in the jewelry business? He goes, no, I'm a costumer. I'm like, oh, you probably know my next door neighbor, Paul. He goes, Paul who? I go, Paul DeLuca. And he starts going on and on and on. And then he starts telling me that his claim to fame is he did Beverly Hills Cop. You know the varsity jacket that Eddie Murphy wears?
Yeah.
That was his high school jacket that he let him wear, right?
Oh, wow.
So somehow we get on. I go, did you know David Faustino's dad? And he goes off, Jimmy Tyson.
Oh, Jim Tyson.
Right, Jim Tyson.
Fucking love Jim Tyson.
So I called
He's
you
one
up.
of the funniest guys in the world.
Do you remember I texted you? I'm like, yo, I'm with Jim Tyson. He
Oh, my
says hello. And then you're
God.
like, he gave the best speech at my dad's funeral.
He sure did. He was one of the funniest. One of the funniest moments my dad told me about. This is just classic Jim Tyson. Jim Tyson, by the way, is his character in the wardrobe costume world. He was one of the greatest. But my dad tells a funny story. They were like going to the little where you buy the candy and the thing.
Yeah,
the
concessions.
concession stand, little thing, and he bought it. My dad bought Mike and Ike, and he pops one in his mouth. He spits it. He got a bad one. He goes. Jim says, "What's the matter? You don't like Ike?" That's just classic. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's quick. That's
yeah,
quick.
what's the matter? You don't like
That's
Ike?
So let's wrap up this portion because we got other takes we need to do. But I want to ask you about the animation. What happened to the reboot? The animated
So the
series?
animated reboot was that's why they went that route, because they couldn't clear through Ron's son to do a live action reboot. So they went the animation route. I don't know, quite honestly, where it is.
So it's just in limbo
We all
right
signed
now.
our contracts. I mean, it
Oh.
was a real deal.
Yeah.
I quite honestly, I don't know if they're able to to sell it. It's a very expensive.
But you guys are all on
prospect for
board
them.
if it happens.
All on board.
Wow,
all
I'd
on
love to
board.
see that happen.
Ed's on board. We're all on board.
I mean, of all
It's
those...
very expensive though for them to go. You know, they took it to a few networks and they're saying, "Hey, this is great and all, but how much are we paying for a fucking cartoon?" You know,
right?
It's Ed's salary.
Well, look at The Simpsons and look at I mean,
yeah.
So we laugh because when you came in here off camera, we were talking, and you're like, "You think I got so much money? You know, you think I'm so rich?" And I'm like, "Oh, come on, man, you gotta be. You know, the residuals. I'm married with children."
Mm-hmm.
But now that I think about it, no, you're probably not that rich. But Ed O'Neill is fucking rich.
Ed O'Neill's dirty rich.
Right, because he's got the Modern Family.
Well, he owned a piece because when Brillstein came in, they got him a piece of the show.
Really?
He took a piece. None of us did. Not Katie, not me.
No kidding.
Wow.
He took a piece, a big, nice
So
size.
he gets a big residual.
Bro,
check
he
every
owns part
month.
of the show. He owns part of Modern Family.
He owns part of
He
Modern.
owns part of Modern Family.
did he help create the show
No.
concept? No.
No, Brillstein, Bernie and Mark Gervitz, two of the most fucking G'd out managers you could ever. Like when he met with them and he combined with those guys, I mean that was the best movie he could have possibly
No
made.
kidding. I didn't know he had a piece of both shows.
Yeah, you got a piece of both shows.
Wow.
So we're gonna wrap it up here so that we could get some other content
Yes.
for our post-production stuff. Is there anything else that you want to mention that you have coming out or anything? I know you do a lot of voiceover stuff.
I do a lot of voiceover. That's like been my bread and butter. I have a few cartoons on Netflix.
Which cartoons?
I do the Airbender, the last Airbender series. The Legend of Korra. I do the How to Train Your Dragon series. I play Dagger.
Aren't you the voice of Cricket Wireless? Too?
And Cricket Wireless.
Which I've never heard one commercial, by the way, for Cricket
I love
Wireless.
that you know
but
that.
you told me this on the show. I'm like,
yeah.
what?
That's been a great dude. I've been doing that for
I
before
said to
that.
you, I go, your royalty checks must be amazing. You're like, I get paid better from Cricket Wireless. I was like,
yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even know they had fucking commercials.
Yeah, Cricket Wireless is I've been doing it for 15 years now. Before that, I did the voice of T-Mobile for 5 years, every single spot. I share Cricket Wireless with a couple other guys. They have like five of us today. T-Mobile, I did every single spot. Like that was just a cash cow, man.
Did you do we got circles?
What's that?
You got circles. That was the whole ad for.
Oh, was it? I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember. I don't think I did one of those. But then again, who knows? I was, it was no.
And there was the guy with the big glasses. That was the T-Mobile guy forever.
He watches too much TV.
He
used
does.
to.
He knows a little too much about things that
I'm autistic, Dave.
I don't know how you
Are you?
store all
No,
that.
but I use that as an excuse every time I go off on a tangent. I'm autistic.
Yeah.
Or you're a stalker of
I have a
like
touch of
crazy
autism.
level.
He does know a lot.
He does
knows
know
a lot.
He knows a lot.
A lot about a little. Wait a second, I gotta go pee pee.
So before we end, one more plug for the Mix Mastermind, which is with Mix Master Mike. It's the DJ community.
Badass.
And because you are a badass DJ who's performed the affiliate ball 3 times now.
Wow.
We did Method Man, Akon. I don't even remember.
Akon,
We
Meth,
did Akon.
and then
Harry
the
Mack.
last one was Harry Mack
Harry
at the
Mack, yeah.
Dre's. Yeah.
So that's been great. But like what people don't know is how great of a DJ you are.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And you
Yeah.
could do all genres. You like the 90s hip hop.
I like 90s hip hop. People
That's
hire
it.
me for that because it's like, oh, they have a 90s party. Let's get Bud Bundy to
Yeah.
DJ. Yeah.
But I'm going to say it here right now. You are member number 1 as far as our first member in the Mix Mastermind with Mix Mastermind. So you are getting a lifetime membership.
Fuck
with
yeah,
us.
that's going to up level my skills, bro.
Hell yeah. And I hope that you come on with us when we do our weekly Zooms and we'll cross promote.
Let's just tell a quick funny story
Mm-hmm.
about that is, I had told you the last party I DJ with you at Dre's that, you said Mix Master Mike coming. I said, well, that makes me a little fucking nervous. I mean, we got one of the greatest.
You didn't know until you got to the venue.
No, I had
Oh,
no
you didn't
idea.
know?
No, it was spontaneous. I
You
called him
never
up.
told Dave.
I called him up
didn't
that
know.
night. I'm like, yo,
He's
Mike.
he's here. And then
come
I
on.
see his name on the thing on the table. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, if I wasn't nervous before, now I'm nervous. So I'm in the middle of I told him that. I meet Mike. It was great. So I'm in the middle of my set, and I kind of feel somebody breathing down my neck here, and I turn around. I'm in the middle of it. And Mixmaster Mike is right here going, He had brought him over to fuck with me,
It's so great. I'm like, yo, man, you got to fuck with him. He's so nervous. That
Mike's got such a great sense of humor. I mean, we were just talking before you got here about how funny Too Short is, like naturally funny, and how he's become one of our funny. Mike, every time we go to Vegas, I hang out with Mike. I took Mike to U2 at the Sphere because my friend Julia runs the whole show there, right?
Got it.
So we had unprecedented access, and he picks me up in this pimped out Escalade. He goes, "What's up?" I go, "We got to be at the Sphere at 6:30. I got you." And the first thing he says to me, he goes, the AVN Awards are at the Sphere? I'm like, no, bro, we're going to see U2, all access. He goes, what?
By the way, the real story is that he didn't want to go to that. You wanted to go to the AVN Awards.
I told him I would get him down. He was like, yeah, I'd go, but I don't want anybody to know. So anyway, long story short, he picks me up in his pimped out Escalade. We're on our way there. He goes, bro, I haven't even been in the Sphere yet. I'm like, well, this is going to be cool. You're like, are you a U2 fan? He goes, bro, I don't think I know any of their songs. I'm like, what? No, this is how hip hop he is.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't know any songs.
Yeah, I only know a few myself.
Until we got there and we're standing immersed in this giant show.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know this song.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're all familiar. They were probably on his iPhone years ago.
With or Without You comes out. He goes,
yeah, I know this song.
I know this song.
Yeah, that's
but
funny.
Meanwhile,
that sounds like me, man.
He was so impressed with everything.
Well,
he couldn't get over. But meanwhile, the people that hooked us up, they were such fans of Mixmaster. When I brought Mixmaster Mike to the venue, the place went bananas.
Wow, that's crazy.
I mean, that's how legendary he is.
Yeah, so legendary.
But so now every time we go to Vegas, he wants to hit us up and he wants to hang out. Yeah. It's a very interesting cat.
Yeah, so he moved to Vegas. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's been there a while.
I've had thoughts about moving out there myself. Just
dude.
You'd have to have an extra spot there. I don't think you'd want to live there.
You have to have a what?
An extra spot there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Buy a place, Airbnb, and then if you want to be there longer than...
Yeah, because he's got a spot here in LA too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not here very much.
No.
His wife lives here.
So we're going to wrap this up really quick because
convenient.
we got other things. I know our time is ticking with my bass hole right there.
The bass hole.
The bass hole says time's almost up. So thanks for coming on the D Money Show. We're going to have you back on again. I love working with you, and I mean on a DJ level and also a podcast level.
Yeah.
And soon we're going to have this Bundy breakdown together.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is going to be awesome. So we're going to end the show here. Thanks to EDM Network. Thank you for being a main sponsor. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks to Sunset Oil for the great hat, by the way.
You know,
I love this hat.
I do love that hat.
San Vicente and Sunset, baby. My gas station.
Shout out to EDM Network.
That was my cue for the plug.
Jamal is our main sponsor of the D Money Show. So thank you, Jamal. We also have a co-sponsor with Contact.io.
By the way, can I just say that I had a meeting with Jamal. I had a Zoom meeting with my team in Japan for Brand Cloud. And not only were they blown away by his acumen and how smart he is, when he showed us the back end that he made for EDM Network, it was mind-blowing. I was like, how old are you? I think he's like in his early 30s or whatever.
He's a young dog, but listen, he's smart, and he built an empire, and he's like I think he's in the top 130 or I think he's like number 30 on the Inc. 500.
Is that right? You sure you just didn't buy the backlink?
I don't know.
Well, we used to do that too. We used to sell a lot of backlinks to Forbes and Inc. No, I believe it because, like I said, I meet a lot of these guys at your show whenever I go to an affiliate club, and very few of these people, unfortunately, really dazzle me. Jamal dazzle.
Yeah, what's cool about Jamal's setup with EDM Network is you can buy and sell leads, calls, and form fill. So if you're in the lead gen game or pay-per call space, it's easy. And they provide daily support. So if you're being onboarded and you don't know how to use it, I can help you. Just sign up through even marketingfirm.com. I have a white label of Jamal. So you could literally sign up through me, and anybody else can get his white label too. So you can sign up through edmleadnetwork.com, which is his URL. If you want to make money with G-Money as a white label, sign up through marketingfirm.com. You might get perks on your affiliate ball.
By the way, if you need a stand-in for Ray J, or a lookalike in any way, Jamal's your guy. He does kind of look like Ray J.
He looks a little bit like Ray J and a young Timbaland.
He
does.
I mean, I guess. I guess so.
Good looking dude.
Good looking fella.
Good looking fella.
And we're not just saying that because he's sponsoring the podcast.
No, I'm saying it because he's sponsoring the podcast. He's good looking.